Hello, hello. Here we are again, coming to you from Broadcast Team Alpha with the Paranormal World Show. And my name is Aage, and I'm the host. And I got a really interesting guest for you tonight, or this morning, this afternoon, or wherever you are in the world. And we are also transmitting on Conscious Awakening Network. You got to go over there and have a look at it. They got close to 50 different shows over there. They cover all the stuff that both you and me need to know about. And also, if you are on YouTube right now, that's the place to be because that's the only place that we can monitor the chat room. You can ask questions and we may be able to answer them for you. If not, then you're gonna have to find the answer. Okay, so I have a oh yeah. By the way, on YouTube, please subscribe and click the bell so you know when the next show comes out. I have an interesting guest with us. He is also an author, and he is a researcher, a ufologist, and he's on the speaking circuit. He does a lot of conferences. In fact, we've done several conferences together. And he's got a book out called Making Contact. So we have Alan Steinfeld with us. So welcome to the show, Alan.
Well, thank you, Aage. It's always good to talk about some of our favorite subjects, which is UFOs, mysticism, consciousness, why are we here on the planet. So yeah, ask me anything, really. I'm happy to be part of that.
Well, I know that you spent considerable time putting that book out, and you have a lot of interesting things in there. The title of the book, though, is Making Contact. Maybe may I ask, who is making contact? Do you think the extraterrestrials will be coming to make contact with us first, or are we finding them? What do you think?
Well, obviously something is here. Um, so they're not outwardly making contact, but millions of people around the planet have had some kind of UFO encounter, alien encounter, some kind of contact experience they call contactees and contact modalities. Contact modalities, something Grant Cameron talked about, which is how these beings show up. I mean, they're not all physical. So sometimes they show up in our dreams. Sometimes they show up as balls of light. So it's not just who's making contact, but how are they making contact and how are humans responding? And we've been curious about the cosmos since early humans looked up at the stars. I mean, it's like, did we come from there? We part of something bigger? So of course the answer is yes. We're not we're not a freak of nature. Life is not an accident on this planet. It is an emergent property of creation, which is like really one of the sub topics of this book. You know, we've been brainwashed by Darwinian, mechanistic, linear, logical thinking. And that's
Yeah.
really not how the human mind, as it's been trained and conditioned to think, is very limited. When you break out of the box of what's possible, then you realize so much more is really here. So, of course, we've been denied the freedom of acknowledgement by our government to say, yes, we are. Yes, we have company. Yes, we have visitors.
Yeah.
So I can go on and on. So who's making contact? They have been appearing in our skies. I mean, I've seen stuff. Everyone, and I know I've seen stuff. So they are making contact. But there's a longing within human beings to awaken to something new, something beyond themselves. That's where religion comes from. I mean,
Hmm.
not a proponent of religion, but the desire to know more. That's where education comes from. That's where why are we here? Who are we? what are we supposed to do? And who else is here? Those are like the basic questions of consciousness evolution. So
Yeah,
it
I
includes all
remember.
of that. Yeah.
I remember years and years ago, while I was still back in Omaha, I have a friend up there. He's a scientist. He teaches at the university, and he said something that to the effect of that it appears that we evolved from monkeys or apes. And I asked him, if apes evolved into us, why do we still have apes? And he just sat there and looked at me for a while, and he said, I don't know.
Well, there could be small populations of apes that have evolved, and there's other populations that haven't. I mean, it happens all the time. So I don't think that's really that surprising. But did we evolve from apes, or did apes evolve from
No,
us or devolve from us? I mean, are we're related to apes for sure, but maybe they were experiments of these great races to perfect or nearly perfect these bodies, these beings, these minds, these
yeah,
consciousnesses. So, I mean, Darwinian evolution is not true. There's lots of holes in the argument. Mutation, according to Darwin, is not an evolutionary asset, but intentional mutation. Jean-Baptiste Lamarck said animals evolve because they intend to. So, and plus, no one ever includes the cosmic environment of evolution. I think punctuated evolution, which is what they say happens. You know, first there's a species and suddenly there's another species. That happens because of the solar cosmic radiation modifying, is my theory, modifying the genetics like overnight, you know?
yeah,
So, I mean, that
yeah.
there's so much to say about evolution, and you
I
just
think
can't believe what people have said. Yeah.
I think too that the evidence for genetic manipulation is very strong, especially when it comes to chromosome number two,
Mhm.
which obviously had been cut. They took the ends and put them together with the telomeres. And now I know Greg Braden talks very extensively on this, and he really proved that somebody did that. That was
Well,
not natural.
someone did that, but where did that evolution come from? Yes, someone did maybe modified our evolution, but where the evolution of those higher beings come from? I mean, you have to go
Oh,
back. If you
yeah,
ask that question, who's where that initial ancestry originated? Somewhere it began. So yeah, maybe we are hybridization modifications of a older race or de-evolution.
mhm,
I think we have the potential here, and this is why I teach in my remote viewing classes. I'm doing one for Shift Network. I'll send you the link. Um, we have the potential here to really see how infinite we are. Our minds are infinite. When I teach remote viewing, which I'll be doing for 7 weeks on shift, how do people see beyond time and space? How do we know what's not present? Because we are already infinite. We are already in the quantum field.
yeah,
This is what Bruce Lipton, Lynn McTaggart, Greg Braden talks about. We are part of we're not confined into these little boxes. Who we are doesn't stop at the edge of our skin. Consciousness extends beyond the body. It has to. I mean,
yeah.
how else can you explain all that?
Absolutely, we
So
are connected to everything.
absolutely connected to everything, but we don't know that. We've been dumbed down to even think that. So now we have to reactivate our potential about what's possible. You
Yeah,
know, so much more is possible. That's why you're doing these shows, is to educate people, right?
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we're both doing what we can. Now,
Exactly.
I let me go back to the book again and what you write about in there. talking about making contact, what and or should I say, how do you think that a form of minimal disclosure, I think that's all we're going to get from government, what and how do you think it will unfold for us?
So how will the well, how it's going to how it will unfold is actually how it's actually unfolding right now. We're
Yeah.
getting glimpses of these craft. We're getting some government coming forward saying, yes, there's something there. We don't know what it is. It is a slow revelation because I think they're getting things in place to, it all comes down to money. No one cares about aliens. I mean, it's not like, all right, there's aliens there, there's bugs there, there's animals. It's like whatever's here and in our skies is not filling up their gas tank to get here. They're not
Yeah.
using fossil fuel. It's not even fossil fuel. I think it's a natural phenomenon of the earth with oil or whatever it is. Yeah, the whole fossil fuel thing is also, people hear something, they believe it, it becomes a dogma, everyone repeats it, and they think that's how it is. We have to start to question what we're hearing. Recently there was an article in the Wall Street Journal saying all the UFOs out there are government plants that they wanted people to think they were UFOs so they wouldn't think they had high sensitive weapons. So they called, I mean, that is such nonsense and it doesn't even hold up. And the Wall Street Journal is complicit in the lies that the government perpetuates to this day about the truth of reality. I mean, why are we electing officials and we're the ones that put people in office that continually lie to us and then also support lie? I mean, I think the lies really start with the Pentagon and that's not elected, but why don't we get people in government who will out those keeping the secret? And we're not, because again, money, if they get a crash retrieval, if someone in the Pentagon is recovering a down UFO, like they're talking about with psionics and skywatchers, then what I think happens, and I don't know, I don't have proof, is there's a lot of technology in there and they take it to private industry, right? So private industry gets access to quite advanced technology and the military gets a kickback. That's the only thing. They make money off a property that belongs to the American people. That is highly illegal. And no one is standing up. To this day, we've had hearings, last 3 years in front of Congress. No one is saying there's something wrong here. There's something very, very wrong here. Like, yeah, so that's frustrating. We the people just want to know the truth. What's going on? Who's here? Okay, it might shock a lot of people. It might wake some people up. It might actually be a good thing for realizing we're all in this together. I mean, one of my favorite sayings by Martin Luther King is, he said, we may have all come here on the different ships, but we're all in the same boat. So, we are all in the same boat here. We are humanity. That means we're all equally human, no matter what race, religion, country, status. We're all basically want to live a happy life, help feed our family, enjoy, and we're being denied a truth. So now there's a people's movement to make contact. So there's something called CE5s, or what other people are calling psionics, or whatever. There's a people's movement to reach out, and the exchange of communication is your mind, your consciousness, right? You studied that, right, Aage?
Yep, absolutely. And that's why I've been saying now for years, it would stagger the mind to imagine how far mankind would have come was it not for religion and government.
Yes. I mean, I mean, the origins of religion probably are okay, Buddha, Jesus, but then when you organize it and tell people what to believe, because
Mhm.
this is how things are, that's where it goes off.
Yeah,
No one can tell you how things are. It's an experiential process, human incarnation.
yeah,
So we can follow the dogmas of other people, or we can say, wait a minute, I'm going to make contact for myself. We all have this great mind, more or less, and we can use it telepathically to send out um, thought forms into the world, and it comes back. So I use remote viewing for making contact. So it's like with consciousness, we go out into the cosmos, and we can use our minds to travel through time and space, really. So we're making contact, yes, with the extraterrestrial. We're making contact with ourselves. We're making contact with the earth. We're making contact with each other humans who are
hmm
equally fascinated by existence. This
hmm
is really the basis of this book, in a sense. Like, there's something going on here that's fascinating and unknown, and nobody has the answers. So let's explore our minds and the universe, and be open and see what we receive. But if we're still thinking out of a dogmatic framework, we're never going to really make any progress.
yeah. And we keep asking for disclosure, but that really come down to it. Disclosure has happened. Government officials has come out and given us disclosure. Let me take about 35 seconds and tell you an interesting story where
Yes,
disclosure was given. And that
yes.
was, believe it or not, in Russia. Medvedev, the president at the time several years ago, he was on an interview. He did the interview and they shut off the interview. And the interviewer on TV asked him, "What can you tell us about UFOs and the extraterrestrials?" And Medvedev, he thought the camera was off, the microphone was off. So he says, "Oh, yeah." He says, "When we take office, we get this dossier, that's a file, and he says in there it explains about the UFOs and the extraterrestrial presence right here on Earth." And he went on, talked a little bit about that, and it blew them away because the interviewer went back to the station and thought it was so good. They ran it on live TV in Moscow. So
Wow.
the Russians know. They were told. Same thing here. People that worked for NASA has come out and said the extraterrestrials are coming here. We talked to them,
Yes.
but
Yes.
nobody
Well,
listens.
I'm listening, and I
Yeah,
think it's I
there
think
you
it's
go.
I think it's important. I mean, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know it was actually out in the news in Russia.
Yeah.
Um, but so why aren't the newspapers who are here to inform us
Well,
do something? Why isn't it on the front page of every single newspaper around the world?
I think CIA.
Well,
I
I
think
don't think.
they turn the Western countries into prostitutes for those people. And when they say don't talk about it, they don't. I know that is the case, especially because I have talked to people in TV back in Omaha. There was a guy that worked for them, and he said, "We have the directive never to talk about it."
Well, I don't think it's just that. I think people have been trained to think in a limited box and identify themselves with their belief system. And if you come along and tell someone that their belief system is wrong, it means you're discounting their identity, because people identify with their political party, their favorite baseball team, their family. This is who people think they are. They think they're their label. So if you suddenly say reality is not what you thought it was, that first they won't believe it because they are so conditioned
Yeah.
to think reality is exactly what they know because it works for them on some level until something odd comes along, which happens with the UFO thing.
Mhm.
But mostly people like to stay stuck in their limited framework because that's what they're comfortable with. And if I come along and tell you there's other life forms here and it doesn't fit in with what your program is, there's no place to put that reality. It's reality is more solid than the ground beneath your feet, according to the way we like to believe. And someone comes along and says reality is not that. It's actually what they call a cognitive insult, a cognitive dissonance. Like
Yeah.
your cognition of what you think is true is shocked, which just happens when people see a UFO if they haven't thought about it before. So we need to, Heraclitus, the Greek philosopher, said, expect the unexpected because it's difficult and hard to find. But if you expect that the world is full of surprises and unknowns and possibilities, then like, sure, bring it on.
Hmm.
That's right.
Yeah, that's people like you and me. We are open to a lot of things, but the 9 to 5ers and the people that is just totally in the box, it's tough for them to stick their toe outside of the box to feel what the water is like.
Exactly.
They're so
And
comfortable.
and they're comfortable because they've been programmed to be comfortable because those are the people that keep the system running and the system needs to run in order to, I don't know why it needs to run actually, but there's somebody who's making money off of it or
Yeah.
benefiting from some power grab. So by keeping people, Mark Twain said it's easier to lie to the people than to tell them they've been lied to.
Oh
That's
yeah.
that's the 1860s. He said that over 150 years ago, or something. But he said that because because we've been programmed for a long time, so we have to drop out of the matrix. That's what everyone's saying. The
Yeah.
matrix is just a program way of thinking. So when I teach remote viewing, I say, well, you can see beyond time and space, and people do it. Suddenly, they have a bigger sense of who they are, what the capabilities of their mind, what's possible, creative potentials. Everything starts to come online.
Yeah. And I think too that there's not a question of if, it's a when that the extraterrestrials will introduce themselves and they will be walking among us. And my opinion on that is that we probably could live with that as long as they look like us. But if you get a mantis coming here, oh, the religious people, they're going to run for the hills. And maybe I would. I don't know. What do you think?
I think people are finally used to other humans that don't look like them. That was a long haul. If someone has a different color skin or different haircut or different whatever
Yeah.
dress customs, so we've been hopefully evolving. So what I look for in someone is the intelligence. So is there an intelligence there? um Even in animals don't look like us and we're sort of friendly. Of course we want to dominate that. So I don't know. I understand what you're saying. We want people to look like us. So according to Bashar, they will start off with aliens that do look like us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Pleiadians, and maybe others, but and
Yeah.
yeah, even if they look like us, but if they were of a different color, like blue, I think we still can live with that.
Right. But the big thing is that we are part of a cosmos full of so many different types of creatures based
Yeah.
on their evolutionary process. I mean, I love whales and dolphins. They don't look like us and they are actually more intelligent than us. And there's no evolutionary trace of how they arrived on Earth. So there's stories that scientists make up. Oh yeah, land animals went back into the sea. That there's no proof of that. That's just a story that someone believed. It's absolutely awful. So that's some of the I think is my opinion and belief is that those creatures evolved on other planetary civilizations. They've been brought here to populate our oceans.
Yeah.
And because I want to see proof of an evolutionary process of a dolphin or whale that shows us, it goes back to your first opening comment, where the evolution of apes. Well, why there's still apes? Well, where's the antecedents for the dolphin? I mean, so I think what this book tries to do is kind of break down all the lies. And I'm not saying I know the truth. I just know what's not the truth. You know, like, oh, there's nothing here. There's no UFO. There's no aliens. There's no crash retrievals. There's no alien bodies. I mean, these are lies. Yeah. And so let's get to uncover what is a lie and then be open to the truth. I don't know what these beings are. Yeah, people call them Pleiadians, Arcturians, Syrians. That's a fabrication too. I mean, that's a story too. There's no, I mean, maybe people have had contact and they said, oh, we're alien, we're, you know, Pleiadian. But let's not make up more stories. Let's just be honest that there are beings here and we don't know where they're from. And it'd be pretty good to find out. I'm not saying some people haven't had insights, but I haven't met any being. I mean, I've seen beings in dream states, but no one's ever told me, oh, we're from here, here, here. They seem more interdimensional, and those places have no names that we could frame them in. So, you know, let's stop mythologizing the phenomena and look at it for just what it is. There's something in the skies. There's crash retrievals the government has. There's bodies the government has. Let's demand the truth. So as a world population, we can make our own story. We can make up our own logical or something that can fit into a collective narrative that will take us to the next level of connection, of contact.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even in government documents, if you go to the FBI website, in fact, believe it or not, they have a UFO section on there.
I know. I know. You know,
and,
yeah.
Let me say this. There is a document, actually. I have several documents in where they talk about what the extraterrestrials look like and where they come from. One of them is called the smoking gun document. You will find it in there, where they say that, yes, we know they are coming, UFOs are coming here. Most of them are interdimensionals, and we're talking to them.
Well, I haven't heard the smoking gun document, but on the FBI, they were complaining that the most looked at document that they had with all the criminals they have arrested and, you know, was the Guy Huddle memo from 1950, where he talks about the crash retrievals in not Roswell, but somewhere in New Mexico. Yeah. That is the most looked at. But I'd like to see the smoking gun document. That sounds fantastic because I'm writing about that in the next book, The Smoking Gun.
Okay. There's another one also, I think from 1955, date back quite a ways, where they, I have that one because I wrote to them and got it from them. So I know that one is real. And that talks about the little grays. And they have a description of them, 3.5 foot tall, and they talk about what they look like. And it is a very descriptive document. So it is there. In fact, the CIA have also documents like that. They're harder to find over there because they keep moving things around to make sure you can't find it.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, we need to demand the truth. I mean, yes, disclosure has already happened. Even the Navy says, yes, there's stuff, but it hasn't seeped into the collective population. So we need to have these conversations, Aage, more
Yeah.
often with more people. And then you get the Wall Street Journal and Neil deGrasse Tyson, or, they're not even skeptics. They're paid off conspirators.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, I'd like to go to the Wall Street Journal and say, who told you to write that article? Where'd you get your information from? Why are you lying to us? Don't you do your own investigations? I mean, that's just last week, the Wall Street Journal's article. I'll find out what that one is. But it's awful, because if government or officials are lying to us about little things like, oh, yeah, we have visitors, what are the big things we're really being lied to about? This is more disturbing. And at least we have these, like the drones over New Jersey, we have a little bit of hints of these, but what are the big lies? What are the really, really big lies? Like government spending, secret weapons, MK Ultra. I mean, I'm not really a conspiracy person. I'm a person that's looking for the truth. I mean, I think there's a lot of conspiracies that people talk about are just crazy, the flat earth. I mean, that
Yeah.
was just that was put out by the government to make everyone else look stupid.
Yeah.
I,
The CIA admitted to putting that out.
yeah, and people believed it, and the people who believed it looked really stupid by other people, because, and then you associate that with people interested in hardcore facts of UFOs, and it makes the whole, like, people like, there's been awful people out there, like on certain shows, I don't have to name which, but totally fabricated. I think the Mars jumping program, I see no evidence of that. I see no evidence of a breakaway civilization. I see no evidence of starships from Earth going out into deep space. I mean, yes, there's Voyager, but that's hardly a starship. So I think if we're in this field, we have to be really discerning on what we put out to the public, because it's already incredible. And then people go the next step and say, I mean, I have my limits. Of course, people may not even believe what I think, that alien abductions exist, that people have had, but everyone has their limit. But I try to keep it this side of woo. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you might have audience listening to you that wants the sensational stuff, but that's probably true. They are interdimensional. They do appear and materialize in people's homes. They do take people out of their homes and onto craft and do genetic experimentation and hybridization and genetic manipulation to create another race of human beings. I mean, I've experienced some of that, but I think when we're talking to people who are unaware of this, and maybe your audience is aware, but we have to do it in a way that we kind of baby steps, okay, there's something out there.
Yeah.
The government has craft. They have bodies. That's like, if they can digest just that part, okay, people, when Whitley Strieber wrote the book Communion, he got 200,000 letters from people around the world saying, yeah, I've had those experiences of aliens coming into my room. So I've had those experiences myself. So we want the whole world to catch up with what we know, right, Aage? So
yeah.
Otherwise, we're fighting each other for truth.
Yeah, and what you're saying is exactly what I'm thinking, because sometimes the only way to know the truth is when it happens to you.
Right.
Then exactly. We know.
Right, because no one can argue with your experience. You may say, someone come along and say you were hallucinating. You know what's true for you. You're a sane person. You're not fabricating. You know the truth. So tell me, what's happened to you, Aage? What's been true for you? Tell me your experience.
That's the thing. And I'm always going to believe my eyes. My lying eyes is always telling me the truth.
Well,
But
what happened to you? Tell me. So, I mean, maybe you've talked about it before, but I'm interested. What's happened?
uh, well, you know, I've been a pilot for many, many years before I retired, and when you fly as much as I did, you see stuff that shouldn't be there. And
What
I was
what did
in
you think? Yeah.
at one point. I had a flying machine flying right underneath my airplane, probably about 400 feet below, very fast, but I got a really good look on it. And it had windows on the side, but it was long, kind of like it's almost like a skateboard. And it
Hmm.
flew right with the airplane, and I haven't heard anybody else talk about ships like that, but it was close. Boy, it
Were
was
you
close.
were you flying privately or were you flying commercially?
That was Well, I was an instructor at the time, so I was in the right seat in a small airplane and a student in the left seat.
Ah. Do you still fly? Do you still go flying?
Oh yeah, back seat, but I can have a beer.
But it must be kind of, I've never really wanted to do that. It must be fun to fly, huh?
Oh yeah, being sitting in the cockpit, you hear the hum of the instruments and the engines and everything. If you have problems on the ground, it goes away. There's a different world up there. It is wonderful.
Wow. It's sort of like scuba diving too. There's a different world down there, when
Yeah.
I've scuba dived, I've flown
Oh,
commercially, but I never flew.
oh
But
boy.
anyway, there's more miracles waiting for human civilization when we accept the fact that we're not alone, when we demand technology come forward, when we start to understand the alien mind, we start to expand our awareness, different ways of thinking. These beings don't think like us. Their technology is different. Government or military wants their technology to make weapons, but we'll never understand their technology until we understand their mind. And their part of their thinking is not Newtonian physics. That
Yeah.
you could look at the descriptions and the characteristics of these craft. This is what they instant acceleration, right angle turns, appearing and disappearing. There's nothing within Newtonian physics. And Newtonian physics has been running our world for the last 400 years. We have not evolved. We're aware of quantum physics, but we really don't really understand how we can utilize it. Well, obviously, these beings, and if you've seen any of those craft, they are not using Newtonian physics. So we're basing our world on something very old, and we have access to the Area 51, whoever owns these crash retrievals, CRVs,
Yeah.
crash
And
retrieval vehicles. Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, but we need the new technology to save the earth because
Yeah.
fossil fuels or whatever you want to call that, it's destroying our air, destroying our water, destroying our land. We
And
need to upgrade and, of course, make the world better for all human beings. So there won't be power in the hands of the 1%. Wealth can be evenly distributed. Imagine having a little box. I mean, other people have said this in your home that generated all your electricity or in your car. It's like, I mean, that is but we've been locked into a limited way of thinking that this is all there is. So, I call my show on YouTube New Realities because the new realities is about perception.
yeah.
Reality is based on what you perceive. And if you're not able to perceive something new, all you will see is the old, which is what we've been programmed to see. So I have sought out the best minds that I have found, people like Bruce Lipton, Lynn McTaggart, Deepak Chopra, Nassim Haramein. These are brilliant, innovative thinkers that have looked at reality differently. And that's the course of human evolution, is to keep exploring the impossible.
Yeah.
So aren't you excited about what can happen here in the future?
Oh, and I am not worried about the future at all. It is going to be a good one. We may have maybe a month or two or three where there were some challenges, but after that, when it's straightened out, it's going to be wonderful. And I have a way of looking at the future that way. So it's going to be good, at least where I am. And I had one thought that I wanted to run by you because
Yeah.
um, that is actually a government form of disclosure as well. And this may be for your next book. You may know about this, and that is that NASA. There was a scientist. His name was Joseph F. Bloomerich. I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I got it right to you.
I don't
He,
know him.
yeah, he was a leading engineer at Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. He studied for several years, I think about 2 years, all the pictures and activities and buildings and lights and stuff on the moon, as well as all the pictures he got from the Russian Space Agency. And he compiled all that into a book, actually, which I'll tell you in a second what the title is. And he said that he came out and made a statement: the moon and Earth are and have been visited on a regular basis by extraterrestrial beings. That
I
was
believe that. Yeah.
Joseph, Joseph F. Bloomerich. If you Google his name, you can read much more about this statement that he made while working for NASA.
Well, I think first of all, the moon is an artificial satellite. I think it
Yeah,
was pulled into place. I think there's just it's just obvious. There's so many more mysteries, but that sounds great. That sounds like I'm sure there's been a lot of
yeah,
craft on the moon. I do think that when Neil Armstrong and Bud Aldrin landed there, 1969, they had seen things that they didn't expect. So
yeah. And they came back, couldn't talk about it.
yeah, so why not? Why not is my question to government. Let's stop electing officials that continue to lie to us, and let's find one on. I mean, I'd like Dennis Kucinich. I mean, I like Bernie Sanders. He didn't care about UFOs. I mean, I mean, I want whoever's in government to just come out. And I do think the current administration have some good people in place. Paulina Luna, um, what's her name? Tulsi Gabbard,
Yeah,
are people that aren't buying the old story. And so there's some good things, but we're really not getting, we have to get to who's ever behind the scenes pulling the strings. Like
yeah,
who is giving the official word? I ask people that all the time. Who's giving Lou Elizondo orders to speak or not to speak? I mean, who's telling Barack Obama he can say there's Area 51 when no one had mentioned it before? I mean, there's somebody pulling the strings of politicians. Who's killing presidents? Who's shooting them?
yeah,
I mean, uh, so it's so shocking. I mean, that we think we're in a free government. I think we're probably more free than most people, most countries that are living under dogmatic rule, but we're a long way from real freedom.
yeah. Uh, and that's not what the founding fathers put together. I have a reward out for well over 20 years now for anybody. I give them $1,000 if they can find the word democracy in the United States Constitution.
Oh, I just read about that. Yeah. Democracy means majority rules. That means the minority suffers, right?
Yeah, mob rule. That's, yeah.
So, what is the government if it's not a democracy?
Well, it's an easier way to control them, and you can create more laws to trap them in. But that's a different show. When that goes into political arena, that can get us in trouble. But there's a book out that's called, it's a declassified government document put out by NASA. And I'll tell you, you really need to get your hands on it. If you Google it, you'll find it for free on the internet. There's a couple of websites that has it. And you can download it. It's called Chronological Catalog of Reported Lunar Events. The government document dates back to 1968, and it covers about 300 different structures, pyramids, lights floating across the surface of the moon, and all kinds of activity up there, dating back 300 years.
Let's do a show about that. Let's do another moon show, okay? Where you and a bunch of other moon experts can really talk about the anomalies on the moon. Because it's right there. It's right. Look up almost every night. It's right there, staring us in the face. And nobody asks questions. How to get there? Why is it the size it is? What's its importance? Actually, I think the moon actually really helps the Earth, protects it against stray meteors. It moves not just the tides, but it moves the atmosphere. You know, if the gravity of the moon can shift the tides, then it can certainly shift the atmosphere, which is lighter than water. So the moon is very important for life on this planet. But, well, who put it there? Why? I mean, who created it? Because it's definitely.
There's some theories on that, and in fact, back in 9,000 years ago, they talk about how it came here and who put it here and what it is. You can read about it in the Vedas out of India, but that's something that, you know, people don't read that stuff. But I'll tell you, get your hands on that book. Actually, it's not a book; it's a kind of a compiled document, and you can download it. And
what's the name of it again?
That is Chronological Catalog of Reported Lunar Events.
Okay, Chronological Catalog of Reported Lunar Evidence.
Yeah, correct.
Evidence.
Yeah, events.
Oh, advance. Okay, yeah. Lunar advance. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a good one.
Oh, any final questions? Because we really, you know, got off the topic a little, but we had a good discussion. Yeah. Anything else you want to ask me?
Oh, gosh. When?
When? It's closer than ever. But you know, as we get closer to the goalposts seem to be moving. So I think there's progress. More people are waking up to the fact that there is contact happening, that more people are having experiences worldwide. I mean, we can't expect the government to tell us. We need a people's movement. Danny Sheehan, Steve Bassett, these are the leaders in our field to really push for disclosure. And I think, you know, it's what Schopenhauer said. Truth goes through 3 phases. First, it's denied completely. No such thing exists. And then it's ridiculed. Oh, you believe that? Well, and then the final stage, it is self-evident. We're coming into the self-evident stage because we've been through denial and ridicule. So self-evident, it's like, well, of course, who would think we're all alone in the universe? What kind of idiot would think those thoughts, you know?
The same guy that made fun of you yesterday, you know?
Right. Right, exactly.
I do have one more question, and that is one that is discussed quite a bit, because the question has substance behind it. And that is, what do you think of Operation Bluebeam, the fake alien invasion?
I think it is a counter intelligence thing to put us into fear. I don't see any evidence of any Operation Bluebeam, like the aliens are coming, we better shoot them down. No, they could have done that over New Jersey last November when all those drones showed up. But no, I don't think that's the way it's going to go. I don't care what Stephen Greer says. He can make up whatever story is to put his name in the paper. No evidence. Don't believe it. Don't think it's possible. It's another fabrication by people inside our field to gain attention. And that's also something you have to be aware of. There's people, honest people looking at the phenomena without making up stories or possibilities. No evidence for that ever happening. I mean, who knows? It could, but I doubt it.
Yeah. I have a friend here in Tucson, John D'Souza, ex-FBI.
Never met of him, but I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
What does he say?
I spent
What does he say?
He says, yes, it's a real thing. He says it's it's a CIA deep state program. There's a document on the CIA website where he read it. I have not read it on the CIA website, but I read a transcript of it where they say that, yes, it is real. So,
well, it's real, but it hasn't happened. Right now, it's just a story fabrication. I'm sure the CIA says a lot of ridiculous things, but
it could be. It could be something they put there to confuse people.
I don't listen to rumor. I don't listen to fabricated stories. I mean, the CIA probably said a million things to throw people. They can say it to put people into fear. That's almost as good as doing it. But no, my verdict or thinking on it is,
and no. in the final result of it, I agree with you. I think even if it was real and even if they planned it, there's so much information out there on this that a lot of people's got to know this is a fake.
Right. I don't think the government's smart enough to plan its own alien invasion. I don't think they're capable. I don't think that's what's happening. I think, there were lots of UFOs flying over the East Coast, Langley Air Force Base. Those were craft. They were not drones. I mean, if there were drones over a military base, they would shoot those drones down. They could not shoot those things down because they were plasma ships. You could see it in the video. Out and out denial. So if they wanted to do Project Bluebeam then, that would have been a good time. I mean, if they wanted to do it. But no, I don't listen to none. I listen to what makes sense for me. And there's so many distractions and lies and counterintelligence.
Yeah.
You just have to go with what seems real and practical, if with an expanded awareness. So thanks for the question, and don't believe a word of it, Aage. Okay.
Yeah. No, we gotta use discernment as well as have an open mind.
Right. Exactly. You need discernment when you're talking about things that are being denied all the time, but yet there's some truth. So the people I like are people like Richard Dolan, Linda Moulton Howe, Grant Cameron. These are people, Linda and Grant were part of my book. Richard was too busy, I guess. Steve Batt, there are people I look to, Danny Sheehan, as truth holders. And then there are these sensationalists that come along with new ideas just to gain attention.
Yeah.
And
I think we know some of them.
Yes. I mean, I think Stephen Greer did some good things. He did start the disclosure movement. He did develop a CE5 protocol. And, everyone's contributing to the field in their own way. Doesn't mean everything someone says just because they did a few good things. It's true.
That's
but,
right.
That's just my opinion.
The making contact. Let people know where they can get your book because there's an awful lot of good stuff in there.
It is because it's a collection of writing. It's not just my book. I took the people I liked the best in the field, the experts I considered really had discernment and knowledge, and have them write an essay about making contact. So I have Nick Pope's in there. He used to live in Tucson, or maybe he still does. Nick Pope, Linda Moulton Howe, Grant Cameron. I got an old, previously unpublished essay from John Mack from his archives. I said to his archivist, hey, can I publish it? They said, sure. So that was a real coup in there. Getting something from who else is in there? JJ and Desiree Hertog, who've had lots of experiences and
Yeah.
science behind them. Carolyn Corey's in there, Mary Rodwell. So I have 11 of the best experts in the field, and with a forward introduction by George Norrie. So, I think it's a really good book on the subject. It's about 3 years old. You can get it on Amazon. There's still some copies left on Amazon. I'm hoping to go into a second printing, maybe in paperback. So I'm excited. I'm writing something new, and I really hope to blow everyone away with that book. So thanks
Yeah.
for the conversation, Aage. I appreciate
Yeah,
you.
this was wonderful. And, we really should do a show on the moon because there's so much.
I'm going to talk to Neil about Portal to Ascension and get another moon special. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
Thank you,
Hey,
my friend.
thank you for being with us. And one last thought. When
Yes.
you go to speaking to the listeners now, go to Amazon and look in the description of the book. You'll see a lot of good things that you probably cannot live without. So go there and have a look, and then you get it.
Right. And people can also find me on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/new realities. You can find me on Instagram, Alan Steinfeld, Facebook. I'm going to be speaking I'm hosting the MUFON National Conference in Cincinnati this year in July. So come to that. There's a lot of great things that are happening around the planet, the Psi Games, a couple of conferences, the Sedona a Transcendent Retreat in September. I'll give you a list of all this. Thanks so much. Talk
Thank
to you
you
soon.
very much for being with us. And then we will see you next week. And until then, be good to each other.